I found an article on everydayhealth.com and it's titled FDA Approves New Drug for Late Stage Hepatitis C, and it's written by Ann Harding. It's okay. I didn't think it was as good as my first week's Pop Press article, so this will be, I guess, more fun to compare. It was written on February 5th of 2016, so pretty relevant or recent. And then this article that it was based off of is the actual original study, and this one's titled Grazoprevir-Elbasvir Combination Therapy for Treatment-Naive Cirrhotic and Non-Cirrhotic Patients with Chronic Hepatitis C Virus Genotype 1, 4, or 6 infection. It's a mouthful, and it also has like 15 authors to go along with it, so there's that. Anyways, the Everyday Health article talks a lot about Zepitir, which is a new treatment, actually I guess cure in their eyes, and it's made by Merck. It is a combination of Elbasvir and Grazoprevir, which are two, I guess, alternate medicines that they combine together. So in this Everyday Health article, it states that cure rates of 92 to 99% were reported depending on the history of the patient's hepatitis C infection. Well, that raises questions for me because it's like, what's the history of the patient and which ones did you test? But also 92 to 99%, that's a pretty high percentage, so some red flags raised, I guess. I don't know. It seems weird. So the three groups of people that they tested were people who had never been treated for hepatitis C, and then people who had been treated but had no response to whatever they had taken, and then co-infected people. So those were the three groups. And it talks about how it was a 16-week duration treatment. And I think it's funny because there was a quote in here by a man named David Bernstein, and it says, "No red flags in regard to safety." Period. Okay. And he also didn't attend the study, I might add. So he sat in a board meeting and came to that conclusion and then reported it, and that was in Everyday Health. So if I had hepatitis C, I might start being like, oh my god, I need to find this right away because so-and-so said there's no red flags in regard to my safety. But is that true? Probably not. I don't know. Also, why I would say it's probably not true is because it goes on in the next paragraph to talk about how fatigue, headache, nausea, and anemia were all side effects that some people had, I guess, witnessed, felt. Yeah. So then it says, very rarely were patients discontinued for side effects. Well, very rarely. What does that mean? I kind of wanted to find a little bit more out about that because if I was going to take a medicine, I'd want to know what people were discharged from the study for and why. So it talked a little bit about virologic failure, which occurred in 4% of the participants. Now, virologic failure, that would be like drug toxicity, something to do with the drug administration process, I would assume. Poor drug adherence. I don't know, but that doesn't sound too good. 4% is not that high of a number, but still something that should be looked into. Yeah, so let's see. Confounds in the study. The biggest one, there's no control group whatsoever, so that's not really a study, not a scientific good quality study. Let's see. Also, it included a small amount of genotype 4 and 6 infections. Now, the one thing that I can give this study, they had a lot of participants, so a lot of large numbers was working in their favor. I believe it was, 60 centers in the US, Europe, Australia, Scandinavia, and Asia. So there was definitely a broad range of participants there. But the fact that it's missing not completely, but lacking 4 and 6 genotype infections, then how can you conclude that the evidence is accurate, And it's also hard because people have acquired hepatitis C from multiple sources. I guess it could be from needles, it could be from anything blood-related, sharing even a toothbrush if someone had blood on it. I mean, there's so many different things that can come into account for it. that were not controlled in the study. So that's interesting. And then in the real article, it straight up says, or the real study, it straight up says that it lacked an active comparative control group and included relatively few types of infections. So kind of like what I just said. Let's see. So in the study, I mean, the numbers match up completely and everything. It says that the treatment rates were pretty good. It was a once daily, all oral, fixed combination regimen. Let's see. Yeah, so among 421 participants, 46 were women, and out of 316 of them, 299 achieved a cure, according to this, so 95% of people, and that's a lot. And they said it was longitudinal and followed them, but I'm still kind of skeptical. So now when taking a look at hepatitis C, just from what I know about it, I know it causes cirrhosis and, liver damage, and it can, in most cases, require a liver transplant, which can be a kind of nasty procedure. So the goal of this whole study and research was to diminish the long-term liver-related complications and the mortality that goes along with it. Now a little bit more detail in what the two components were that made up Zepitir. I can't pronounce them, I don't think, but Grazoprevir is a protease inhibitor that has a high potency in vitro against hepatitis C. It wasn't tested so much on genotype 3, but either way, they've done many tests with it in the past. Elbasvir is an inhibitor as well, but it's against multiple genotypes, including 3 that the other doesn't target as well. And even in the presence of RAVs, which are resistant associated variants that can be associated with failure of other inhibitors. So, I mean, overall, the article, I guess it had some interesting information. I would recommend to read it if you are going to take the time to do the research beyond that. It was misleading, though, so I guess you could argue it either way on whether the information was accurate or not. The quotes, no, those were not accurate. I mean, it's talking about how there was no real complications with the study, and then it's talking about how people could get anemia, like iron deficiency. What? Okay. And then they're kind of incongruent with each other. I mean, the numbers, they add up. Everything is completely the same as far as numerical, quantitative data goes. It's more in how it's interpreted, where I think there comes a misunderstanding between either who wrote it or just they wanted to promote Zepitir. I don't know. And maybe it works really well. I guess if I had hepatitis C, I might try it out because there were good findings, and it said it was like the 3rd used hepatitis C treatment. So yeah, and then descriptive, yes, it had a fairly good summary, and it was a decent length too. It wasn't like 2 paragraphs or anything, so it definitely went through. But confounds are omitted in the actual study, so I don't know on the rubric if it means were confounds omitted in the Pop Press article or the original study. I'll just answer both. So confounds were definitely omitted in the original study. There's no control group. You can't assess really the degree of the hepatitis C or how long they have to live. So it's all kind of subjective in that manner. But in the Pop Press article, they didn't really leave out anything. I mean, it was all pretty good as far as what I read in the study versus what's in there. The Everyday Health article was nice because it's like, if I need to just get a broad idea of what Zepitir is, it definitely does that. It tells you, what it's acting on. It tells you what it's made of. So in that sense, it's good. But the real article, I mean, it's a lot longer, and it talks a little bit more about, like, the study design, which, I mean, was okay. It was randomized. It was blinded. They did have a placebo within it. But still, like I said, you can't test the mortality level of a person, so you don't know really how severe it is. you can take a look at liver and, you know, internal body processes, but yeah. Let's see. So yeah, overall, I guess the article matched up pretty well. The original study wasn't so great, which therefore made the Pop Press article in Everyday Health not as good. It did not give a good background on what hepatitis was, which is why I went and looked it up on my own, just to make sure I understood it. But yeah, I believe that that's it.